The killer phrase was at the end when Kimmel said, "You just don't realize it." Because you see, he's smarter than you, and he needs you to know that. And his ego can't bear that there's someone out there more famous and more influential than him. I got news for you, Kimmel. The last time you mattered, Bruce Jenner still had a
million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free, that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because he looks a little silly.
Jimmy Kimmel in prime time with a Southern-style garnish. God bless you. Kimmel's effort at atonement, not as sturdy as a damp tissue in a wind tunnel. Hold on tight. Pettiness is very important.
Case in point, last night, all the other late-night hosts threw a hissy fit. It's too bad Tim Waltz is still grieving, or he could send them all a sack of industrial-strength tampons.
You all know what they saw. They saw what we saw. They saw the frail elderly man who needed help getting off the stage. They're just too chicken shit to tell us about it because they accurately deduced that he could still be the Democratic nominee, and they don't want to ding him up. Maybe you give Barbara a pass. Who gives a damn what this singer saw or says? But you know what? Jimmy Kimmel happens to be employed by ABC, which happens to have a rather large news organization. And he has been one of President Trump's most vocal critics. Where are you, Jimmy? On vacation? Not good enough. You can still use your thumbs to send out a tweet. You could set the record straight right now, but you won't.
Jimmy Kimmel used to be the frat house jester, making jokes about burritos and bikini competitions on a late night. He then declared himself America's moral compass one morning while looking into the Hollywood mirror. Just as Greg Gutfeld stepped on the stage left, the most embarrassing personality shift in entertainment history began.
Poor Jimmy. True, it was a terrible night for women, children, and for the hundreds of thousands of hard-working immigrants who cut his lawn.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hard-working immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate.
Image equipped with a loud hailer, a whiteboard, and possibly a glitter cannon. Gutfeld used fluorescent ink to lay out Kimmel's departure from comedy, with irony so keen it made a cactus question itself. He rode that moment like a mechanical bull.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Winner number one, Jimmy Kimmel. For the fourth time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times. Yes, some of the very same celebrities who wanted you to believe they were horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities, and it wasn't a big deal. Absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star Karl Malone.
Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's gonna be a spook.
As Kimmel sought cover behind the velvet gates of moral righteousness, Gutfeld strode in with Nielsen prizes in his clown shoes. They came with wildfire warnings, but there was no house band or forced applause, just dry punchlines.
For everyone who voted against him, and guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
You know what? If I ever cry on TV, it'll be because Maroon 5 put out a new song. But that's it. You big... Now...
The diagnosis made by Gutfeld former shock jocks who suddenly develop consciences are prone to moral overcompensation syndrome. Loaded punchlines, audience lectures, and emotional breakdowns into identity quotas are some of the symptoms. In addition to roasting Kimmel, Gutfeld conducted a comprehensive comic autopsy using man show snippets that had aged like sun-baked mayonnaise.
Just this past 2 weeks, they had the Kennedy Center honors the other night where Joe Biden couldn't say Dionne Warwick. He kept calling her Diane, and he didn't know who Barry Gibb was. He kept calling him Billy. You know who else was honored? At the Kennedy Center. You know who else? Billy Crystal. Just FYI, do you know who once opened up the Academy Awards in full blackface?
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Crystal.
Ooh.
Billy Crystal. And do you know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced darning socks.
Megyn Kelly arrives brandishing a rhetorical flamethrower. She started alphabetizing Kimmel's hypocrisy while wearing a sheath dress and sipping her coffee calmly. She started with a man show, a beer-soaked extravaganza featuring testosterone and trampolines.
Late night host Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air after taking the summer off. He's missed a lot. Kimmel says if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't get a hospital ICU bed. But I'm not sure if Jimmy was being sincere because he wasn't crying. Anyway, it's just funny hearing someone say, I see you, who nobody actually sees. Look, I don't want to suggest that Kimmel's show has become boring and predictable, but last night during the taping, people in the studio audience were changing the channel.
Then came the notorious Karl Malone blackface sketch, which was a career third rail for Kimmel. Kelly and the internet both remembered. She joked that he was America's inebriated uncle and that he is now its conscience. A scalpel sharp with one line.
At the Sunday morning show with Stephanopoulos into the evening Academy Awards broadcast with Kimmel and ABC elevating, the blackface lovin' Kimmel. They, at the same time, fired Chris Harrison, host of The Bachelor, for trying to defend one contestant on, The Bachelorette for saying, gee, I know I went to this antebellum party, a couple years ago. I guess I didn't see anything wrong with it. And all he said was, are we judging her by today's standards or are we judging her by, old standards, whatever. He was basically trying to say, are we being too hard on her? Got fired. Chris Harrison has to be fired by ABC. I don't know why, because he's not a committed leftist, because he's not out there more saying all the terrible things about Republicans that Jimmy Kimmel says. So this is them saying, we get it. We're an ally, right? And I guess maybe they're trying to make up with their racist past, without ever...
Like an IKEA bookshelf without bolts, Kelly destroyed Kimmel's newly discovered fact-checking persona, as though his past had been erased from the collective browser history. The man who formerly made fun of every stereotype he could discover now gives ethical lectures to the public.
His career peaked with busty girls on trampolines. Now the only boob we see is him. He once co-hosted The Man Show. Now he's sobbing like he just watched Steel Magnolias 3 days into his menstrual cycle.
Like a lawyer reading indictments, she expertly outlined Kimmel's greatest hits of hypocrisy in just hard, indisputable receipts. No laugh track.
I will tell you, he's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst ratings. They only have 366,000 people watching that show. During the Jon Stewart years, it was over 2 million. Now it's down to 300,000. Seth Meyers, absolutely dreadful. He doesn't even have 1 million, 778,000. I mean, for network television, this is, you don't have to pay for it. It's there when you turn on your TV, you plug it in. That's a dreadful number. Greg Gutfeld on cable, which you do have to pay for, it has more than double the numbers of Seth Meyers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.5 million averaging, also equally horrible.
Kimmel's moral superiority more akin to a studio prop department rental pony. While Gutfeld used a laugh track technique to insert sarcastic Molotovs directed at Kimmel's current TED Talk, Kelly revealed every off-color joke he'd rather the public forget.
These fellas are experiencing deep mental pain. And it's not just them. Journalists are now offering tips to deal with their disappointment, frustration, even fear. And I get it. That's normal after any loss. I'm still mad about losing World's Sexiest Man to Johnny Depp. But why would people feel fear? Maybe because their only news sources are constantly telling them Trump's going to turn America into Nazi Germany. But you know who felt actual fear during the Biden administration? People who had to ride the subway.
When combined, Kelly's cold accuracy and Gutfeld's anarchic would reveal a contrived rather than real metamorphosis. Kimmel may have been drowned in the praise he still so desperately wants as he stood mute. In addition to roasting a man, their tag team destroyed a whole genre comedy that sacrificed guts for slick respectability.